What's going on, you guys? I'm back with another video. I think this is going to be something that is worth sharing. It took me 5 years, and I still really fully haven't figured it out. And the idea is like, there's a difference between being rich and wealthy. I'm sure you know this, but rich is how much you get paid or how much money you make, and wealth would be defined as what your returns on what you own. Okay, so they're slightly different. There's some nuance to it. But another example of it would be rich is what you get paid, and wealth is the ratio of what you spend to what you make. So there's different ways that you can kind of separate the two. And so the idea is like, if I make 100K a year and I spend 100K a year, then I made nothing. Now I'm not wealthy. Now, if I made 100K and I live on 30K, I have 3 years that I can live on 30, 30, 30 and still have a little bit left. That is where you actually feel wealth. Another example would be, you might have a job, right, where you get paid for your time, or you might have a business or an asset or something that you buy, and you get returns on it. And so in the case of a business, you built a system, and the system produces cash flow and profit. And obviously, it's not that easy, but that's the idea, is that you can sleep at night, you can have a business that runs and it makes money even without you being there all the time. And so that's specifically what I want to talk about, because it sounds easy. It's very difficult to do. I've made multiple six figures in my life. I have a 6-figure plus agency serving remodelers in the construction industry. But I would make the argument that I've never been able to actually systemize it in such a way that has allowed it to be where I can be removed from it and the machine can still function. It's very difficult to do. Especially with a consulting type business where there's so much of like experience and expertise that somebody would have, and you can take somebody off the street and you'd have to be able to transfer all that information. So the example would be is like, if you're a really, really good at physics and then you need to have more reach, you have to then teach what you've learned with physics to other people so that they can also build on top of it and continue to learn more about physics without you being there. I know that that's kind of a bad example, but the idea is like, you have to be able to leave the business. The owner's job is to be the most replaceable person in the business. The employee's job is to be the most irreplaceable person in the business, right? And so that makes sense fundamentally. It's just very hard to do, especially in my business. And so that's what I'm working on. I think that is the ultimate way to actually be, I can look at it this way, as I make much more profit because I do more of the work myself, but I am capped on the amount of time that I have. And the only way that you can make more money if you're trading your time for hours is if you sell more expensive things. And I feel like, to continue to raise that, I feel like is pretty difficult, especially given the markets and all that stuff. Obviously, the more value you deliver, the higher the price you can charge, of course. But I think at a certain point, it becomes easier to systemize it and have other people do it than you just have to keep going up the food chain. And so that's kind of what I'm working on right now. It's tough because I think about it like you have basically like you have marketing, you have sales, you then have operations. You then have I consider IT another function that needs to get done in the business. You also obviously have finance. You have a bunch of admin work as well. And so those are the 6 core functions at my size. You could add human resources, but again, you only have that once you have a lot of people. And again, obviously this might slightly change depending on the industry and business or whatnot. But for my business, which is a service-based business, that is the 6 core functions that I have to be able to build a system and have people do, because I can do that. I can wear each of those hats, so to speak, and produce some outcome. Now the question becomes, can I do more than 10 people that are running each of those systems? Probably not, no matter how good you think you are or how good I think I am. And so eventually you just have to realize like that is part of the problem, and why, if you can solve it, you make a lot of money, because it is a hard problem to solve. It sounds easy in practice, but it's very, very hard to do. And again, like, I've made tons of money trading my time for hour, and I have gone up the food chain to some extent, but like, I think a lot of people would make a lot of money and make it in a way that is like worth doing, because anybody can go grind 80 hours a week, which I've done for years, but it's like, not everybody wants to do that. And I don't even think I needed to do that. I mean, I think you have to be capable of doing that for sure, because business is hard. But I think if I would have understood how to provide value, and then how to systemize it, and how to replace myself, and build a machine that gets better on its own, if I would have done that sooner, I think I would have made more money, and built it a much bigger business. And I think I would have done it without having to sacrifice so much of my early 20s. I'm still 23, but like, basically from high school to now, I've sacrificed a lot, and I just think it was a little bit unnecessary. I have zero regrets, but I just think it was a little unnecessary reflecting back on it. And that's why I'm sharing this video. But anyway, to sum all this up, there's some good resources like Build to Sell. You can read the E-Myth. But if you're trying to build a business, like, you want to make it sellable, because if you make it sellable, that means you built a business that's actually valuable. If somebody else will buy it, it means it's valuable. You don't have to sell it, but if you build it like that, it's fundamentally a better business, because that means that you can leave the business and the business will still grow. It's not just you putting out fires. It's not just you trading your time. It's not a job for yourself that you've created. You get to build a system and a team, and it's just much more meaningful. And it's less stressful, and it'll allow you to do it in a sustainable way. And I really think that that's why most businesses fail. And I think if I don't build this correctly, I think that over a long enough time horizon, my business will fail, because eventually I'll get burnt out, or somebody, will build a better system than I've built, and they'll be able to, take the market share to some extent, and just make it harder, and make it to where like, it's like not really worth playing, if I'm going to have to sacrifice so much of my time. And plus I have the most energy now. I don't, if I'm 35, 40, I don't plan on working this hard, and I'm sure I will, but like, I think if we're able to plan ahead, we should at least have goals to not have to do that if we don't want to. But anyway, that was my little in the trenches with T. Today's March 10th, and I will see you guys on the next video.